Please stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, we have a fairly light agenda. I should mention that we have one other discussion after the Greenberg food scrap drop-off presentation, which is a discussion about the current no trespassing laws around the reservoir. But without further ado, I think we're going to have a presentation about the Greenberg food scrap drop-off.
Okay. Well, we are so grateful for your time on this special topic. This is a very exciting step that the Village of Irvington is stepping out in front of Greenberg and taking a hold of this opportunity that we have to get on board with, well, this is what's happening, right, everybody? You know, food scraps form anywhere from 12 to 18% of any of our garbage cans. And we all know our garbage cans pretty well. You might be the 12, I'm the 18. And anyway, but it's also the wettest and heaviest part of waste. And as you know, waste in Westchester County is taken up to the Wheelabrator waste to energy facility and it's incinerated. So the wet, heavy food stuff is not helpful to the burning process. So the municipalities all over Westchester are trying to think of ways, and the county as well, to pull the food scraps out and facilitate that burning process, and then, more importantly, recapture the value of the nutrients in food to put them back into the soil. So it's really awesome. Now, Irvington's done a good job of promoting Love 'em and Leave 'em, the leaf mulching, and backyard composting. This goes along with that. We are still promoting backyard composting and leaf mulching, as those organics can go right in your own yard immediately, done by you. But what do you do with the meat and the fish and the oily stuff and the jars of peanut butter that went bad? That stuff can go to the food scraps recycling project. This is we're following the track of our friends in Scarsdale. And Scarsdale is already, you guys started it when again? It was
exactly a year ago, so January of 2017.
1 year, and they have 20% of their population involved. Participating, 810. It's really incredible because it's so, revolutionary. But Scarsdale, Mamaroneck, Larchmont, Bedford, Greenberg will be the largest municipality to be doing it, especially if the villages all get involved. And we're hoping that Irvington is going to blow out the percentages of participation in our population. So now, how does it work? First of all, any questions about food waste composting so far? The town of Greenberg got a grant to do this. It's from the DEC. Terry Leibach's here from the DEC. And we got a grant to do this. So this is going to cost Irvington nothing. In fact, it's going to save Irvington $28.30 per ton for whatever we pull out of the waste stream and send to the town of Greenberg for food waste composting. So, if each 3.4 pounds of waste per day, and if you multiply that out, family of 4, that's about 5,000 pounds of waste in a year. 10% of that, or say if you're on the 20% of that end of it, like I am with food waste, you're saving a lot of tonnage, and that therefore it'll combine to a lot of money for the village. So it's a good deal for the village of Irvington. I'd like to have Lisa show you how this will all work. Now, first I want to say that we'd like to donate this to the mayor. There's nothing better than example Bible leadership.
Do you know what you've just received?
Dude, John Pardo, tell him what he wants. Right.
So my transportation mode for the
that is your transportation mode. Now, you don't have to use it. In Scarsdale, they find, what do we bucket, right?
Virtually everyone uses this, but you don't have to use it.
Oh, right, okay, so people do like it, it's convenient, right?
But some people bring in Tupperware.
Oh.
You know,
tiny caps, yeah.
Right, you got a bucket? That
I like to use, you can use it, sorry.
Sounds okay.
Absolutely. So, okay, so Lisa's gonna explain how this all works to keep it clean and easy and odor-free in your house.
Offered for $20 it is, correct? The kit includes the tote that you can carry to the drop-off site, and this that you keep in your house under your sink or wherever you'd like to start accumulating your food scraps. Very easy to use. It has a lock on it, so you know that it's completely closed. I'm very nervous because Ron usually does this.
You're doing great.
You can have liners for it, and it also comes in the kit. You'll get instructions from Greenberg and a sheet from the manufacturer of the bin, as well as a roll of liners. You can use the liners if you want. You don't have to use the liners. Usually, you do want to have a bag in here, I would imagine, to dump things, but a paper bag would be fine if it's not going to get too wet. So you
Compostable.
Oh, yes, well, yes, these are compostable bags, that's the key point. If you're gonna use any bags, use paper bags or compostable bags, because plastic's not compostable. And so, it's a lovely bin, it's very versatile. I have an old model, and it's not so versatile, so the new model is much, much better.
Keeps out the fruit flies.
Keeps out the fruit flies. So that's how it works. You collect this. I might stack mine, and about a week later, I'll dump it out into my backyard bin. But so you can do every week, and then maybe every 2 weeks go to the place, or however much, however long you want to keep your food scraps at home.
But you can tie off those bags and just store them in the bigger one, and then put this bigger one, it locks, and put it in your car, and drive it on over to the food scraps drop-off at Anthony Veteran Park.
We know where it is.
We know where it is, and I'm giving you the piece.
part.
Do you know where Anthony Veteran is? In Ardsley?
Ardsley, going down
Right.
towards Ridge Road.
Right, before you enter 11 to go down. Pass it down.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
no.
good.
That's the record.
Thank you.
Okay, and now, MJ was gonna talk about, how we're gonna try to galvanize and make it efficient, to get a high degree of participation in Irvington, and get that happening quickly.
Well, given the location of this drop-off center, it isn't exactly totally convenient to Irvington. So what we're encouraging is for individuals to coordinate. So whether streets organize or whether the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts organize, and what you can do is you can have a group of families get together, and so one person per week can run the materials over. So it's not like every individual is taking their car over there when they have sufficient materials to drop off. And so we've been talking with Leola, who has been doing outreach to neighborhoods, and Francis, who's been doing outreach to the different neighbors as well. And
Francis, which Francis?
O'Shea?
O'Shea.
Okay, sorry. And, good point. And Larry has agreed that the village has agreed to sell the kits. So people will be able to buy these kits for $20 at Village Hall. And Anne is going to be at the farmer's market selling the kits. And also when she's at the farmer's market, I'm sure she'll also be talking to people about, well, do you want to organize your neighborhood? I know that for Love 'em and Leave 'em, there were some people who bought leaf mulchers and they were sharing them, amidst their streets and their circles. And so sharing the responsibility of this can be done as well. Also, if they're, as we work this out over time, it might be that we find out that there's someone who goes over there along Heatherdale Road.
Actually, yeah, at the farmer's market, Pascal is very enthusiastic about us collecting food waste from people, as long as it's in bags or, lock-tight containers. And then I would be driving it over once a week from the village.
Ooh.
Service.
She's in my neighborhood. So I think it's very doable. And a part of the idea is that once people get more established in this practice of separating out the organic material, which is a valuable resource, it's really not trash, it's not waste, it's only waste if we waste it. So if we separate out the organic material and have a practice of it being returned, turned into food for the plants and therefore food for the earth, the infrastructure that will make it easier and more economical will continue to be built. Right now, the material will be hauled, currently, the agreement is with Ulster,
Yes.
correct? Ulster County's material facility, and that is a haul. And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to get as much as possible per shipment. But there are a lot of people who are diligently working and trying to have food materials in compost facilities closer. And I look forward to the day when they are successful, but right now there's no really target date on that. See, what else am I missing? What am I not covering?
I think, questions?
What happens and how will this facility and at the Veteran Park, what will they do with that kind of scrap, the kind that's the, fish and meat and fat? What will they do with it?
Okay.
I know what happens with the regular compost that you use,
Right.
your own composting, but the others, what will happen to it? What's it?
Believe it or not, the same thing that happens in your backyard compost with fruits, vegetables, and grains will happen with meat, fish, and oils. But it needs to happen with more volume, more oxygenation, and more careful balancing with the carbon material. So that's why you take it to a professional composting facility. But it works out. In fact, the quality of the compost, the nutritional content of the compost is, as you can imagine, even higher when you have that diversity of materials in it.
So commercial composting facilities can compost anything that was once alive. So, and they've really gotten very skilled at being able to do that. There's several different methodologies, but more and more people are understanding the importance of this, and so there's more people who are becoming really proficient in developing systems that work out really well.
So the people that don't do backyard would do everything this way if, in your scheme, and people who do the other would just take what they can't put in their backyard and do it.
I mean, that's really a good question, Connie. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep composting my fruits and vegetables in my backyard because I need it for my garden. But I'm so delighted to be able to take my Thanksgiving turkey carcass and
After you've made bone broth.
after made soup, absolutely. But it's perfect. You can do it all. Listen, it's really important, MJ and Lisa. I think we want to clarify a little bit about the bag thing, because that compostable bag that we sell with this is something. What do you call it? ASTP certified or something like that. There's a certification rating. We don't want plastic bags or fake compostable bags to go to the composting facility, because eventually they get wise to it and then they'll turn their loads away. We have to have the right bag. So we are going to have to teach people carefully that they cannot substitute a plastic bag if they run out of bags. It's better to dump it with no bag at all than to use the wrong bag.
Where do they get refills when they run out of their?
They can get them from the village and from the town. From the Greenberg Nature Center to the bags themselves. They can get, the rolls, that Elisa was showing you, we're going to sell refill rolls. Or you can get them online. On the materials, it'll have the website, so you can purchase them online if you want, and they're really very cheap. It's like $3, $2 for a roll.
So if we're not composting in our backyard as you are doing, we can put all food waste?
Yeah. Oh, everything. And napkins, even
Paper towels.
paper towels. There's actually a handy
Oh,
list.
thank you.
Yeah, and it's on your handout. It's amazing what you can put into it. Eggshells, coffee.
And also, it is important, but part of the reason for doing this is to be more environmentally responsible in many different ways. One is not wasting organic material, another is replenishing the earth, because that's where the plant material, animal material came from. However, to be good stewards of the earth, it's also important to keep in mind that there are things out there now that you don't know are contaminated with artificial materials, but they are. Like some of these paper towels that have got this absurdly absorbent ability, and are, you can stand on it and they don't break. Some of those have plastic fibers in them. So it is important that if you are putting paper materials into the compost, that you do it just pure paper. And also, this actually answers the question of what do you do with the greasy spots on your pizza box.
Aha.
Oh, yeah.
Greasy spots on the pizza box, it's compostable.
Pizza boxes can be composted. That's amazing, right?
So the clean parts can go into recycling, the greasy spots can go into the composting.
I just wanted to add to the conversation because I work for DEC and we permit this facility where these organics are going. So just so you know, the temperatures are between 140 and 160. They're hot. And that's why everything cooks. Versus in your backyard, it's what we call cold composting, and that's why you have to be really particular. So you're breaking down everything in a colder system. But as long as, you know, these guys have the rules because they know what they can handle and what it's going to break down so they can make a really nice product. So, but yeah, all of that can be handled. It's a totally different system than your backyard composting system.
So the grant set up the Anthony Veteran Spot.
Yes.
That location is what got funded.
Yeah, and we just followed Scarsdale's model. It's very simple, you know, it's just it's just basically a driveway with the toters that lock and can be wheeled to the truck when they're full. And so, but there's going to be like 35 toters there, and people will come and from their little toter they'll put it into the giant toter that's at Anthony Veteran. That's all there is to it.
And when you say toters,
64.
they're those big square guys like that for shredding machines or in offices. You put your stuff into these clamshell lid devices. Those are toters.
Oh.
Some people now have them for their garbage cans. For some of the municipalities that have the mechanical lifters, you know, those are toters. So it's like a square thing and a clamshell top. And let's see, so.
I think very importantly, it opens January 17th, is that right?
20th.
20th?
They changed the date.
Oh, they did? When did they change the date?
I got it today from Rachel, changing the date.
So hold
Oh,
it.
well, good, we got the freshmen.
Now that you don't know this, I want to double check. That's very important. I didn't
Get that note, I was,
Wait,
Anyways, yeah. So, everybody, January 20th, okay, Anthony Veteran.
So it's Saturday the 20th. You could-
Correct. And they have certain hours from
8 to 8, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
7 days?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Wow. And so you just open one of these and
Toters.
just put your stuff in and go away.
Yeah, that's probably the best idea I could. Close the lid.
Oh, no.
Hang around for a little while.
Sleeping bags, I don't know.
The thing is, I mean, it really is important to have purity of product. It's really important that people be good citizens and not contaminate the organics. That's vitally important because we don't want loads rejected. And having done materials management on a large scale, I can attest that a lot of times it's not nearly as smelly as one thinks. And if it's managed correctly, it's not as messy as one would think. So, and yes, there are times when biology is biology, and it will start breaking down, and there will be smells or there'll be odors. But when people manage things well and responsibly, it's just not nearly as a big of an issue as people are afraid of.
Does the grant cover the trucking of it away to Ulster County? Yes.
Yes. Sweet. Yeah, no, it's a very good grant. Make it
Oh,
easy.
no, what we're trying to do is get that number down of waste per day per person. And the only way the drivers are going to be organics, waste diversion, and product stewardship. Those are the two cornerstones of it. So we're really encouraging municipalities to really go beyond leaf yard waste composting and get into food scraps composting to make that happen.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question. I'm sure it doesn't come just from me, but that people will be asking, what about bugs, vermin, that kind of thing?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. Well, right now,
We're not starting this in August, which is possible.
exactly, that is a good reason for doing a winter start out, right? So people don't have to worry about that piece as much, although raccoons in Irvington, right? So, if you notice in your garbage can, when you put your food in your garbage can, you have the same problem if you are careless in how you put it in your garbage can, right? At least I do. If I put food waste in my garbage can unbagged. So when you're doing the compost, there's two things that make it better. One is the can is designed to lock properly. okay? It's designed, so you know what I mean? You don't have and number two, you're putting it in your, if you're worried about the bugs and the smells, you're putting it in your nice canister tier with your bags. And these compostable bags don't start breaking down super quick. So they will sit in your larger can. They'll sit here for a week, and they'll sit in that larger can until you transport it, and they won't break down. So you've got protections against bugs and vermin and stuff in multiple ways with this. But when you think about it, it's all going into our trash cans right now, and it's the same problem in a trash can. You know, I mean, I know it happens in my apartment building. Some of the trash cans get so horrible, you know. So, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I just was sure that this is something that would be on people's minds.
It will be. It will be. That's the yuck factor they call it, right?
But if I may, it's interesting to we live with that yuck factor already. Is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we think, oh wait, this is now we have to think of something else. No, we've always been thinking of this. So it's not really a new issue.
We're just handling it in a bit of a different way. And it's also, with things like fruit flies and stuff like that, if one does get fruit flies, you can manage that. You know, it's like, okay, what am I doing that causes that? Or what's the cycle of them? So what practice do I do to avoid that? There's some things that they love more than others. So maybe if you that stuff you put in the refrigerator until you're ready to drop it off. At work, there were fruit flies at work, and they wanted to spray pesticides here the fruit flies because they were afraid people were going to bite. They were afraid the fruit flies were going to bite them. So, you know, if we are living if we're trying to be better friends with the natural world, it's important to learn who the critters are and what they are and how they behave. And you know, at work we were just able to find the one piece of fruit that somebody forgot and remove it, and they went away.
So I guess the one question that I had was partially answered, but I know from the one ongoing battle I have with dealing with garbage and compost is the raccoon.
Yeah.
I found the raccoons that are, and one of them is evidently smart and very strong. So I've yet to find a garbage can that it can't get into.
Oh yeah.
Really?
I have that family coming to my house too. I think.
Yeah.
It's really
Including the ones that have been sold for, as you know, kind of they have those latching rubber type of clamps on. They get
Smart.
Yeah, so actually this might help us out though, Mark, because this is small enough. We can start keeping our food out of our yard trash can where it's waiting for.
But I mean, with that, I would have to put that in my garage.
Exactly, in our garage or in my basement, you know, and these lock. And so if they're in our basement, they're not going to smell or get bugs, you know, in the basement or the garage. But I think actually we're going to find that the trash cans on the streets of Irvington are not going to be as smelly and disgusting as they were once we pull all the food out of it and we have the food in these things.
At the pickup place, are those in Greenberg, are those large bins known to be raccoon-proof?
Yes. We've had them for a year.
That's good.
We've had them through hot summer months,
Yeah.
so we're sort of the proof that we have no vermin, no raccoons, not even a chew hole.
And you're all welcome to come visit.
No, this
Do-
Where is your site? Where is your site exactly?
It's called the Scarsdale Recycling Center, and it's at 110 Secor Road, and it's open Monday to Saturday, 8 to 3.
But if you want to come, just ask Ann, and
Yeah.
we're happy to give you a tour of it.
So do you guys use liners in your big toters, giant liners?
So we do.
Yeah, we do. We do so that way the sanitation guys, if we don't require bags, 98% of people use bags because it's easier at home, it's cleaner at home, but you can just come and dump right in, and that just allows the guys there to just tie it off and keep the bins a little cleaner. So we do.
Yeah, Greenberg's thinking they're going to use them too.
Yeah, just,
So.
you know, we wanted to make sure everything was very neat for both the homeowners as well as people coming to the site, as well as the people working at the site.
I've done the tour, thank you, I recommend it highly. It's an active site, so, and it, you know, there's a lot, looks like there would be a lot of opportunity for rodents and raccoons, so it's wonderful to hear that.
It doesn't even smell.
Yeah.
And can you just explain again your role in your proposed role in pickup at the farmer's market?
Yes, okay, so we're gonna find our way with this. I'm not sure exactly what it'll look like, but we have the farmer's market through the winter every other week at the Main Street School. And we're gonna be there, me and other people will rotate with me, be with a table. I'll have either multiple of this size, or I might get myself a much taller one, a bigger one. And I'll have literature, and I'll have some clean set starter kits too. I can either get them from Larry, or I can purchase them myself. And so I'll be selling kits, and I'll be collecting if people bring it. But if they bring it to the farmer's market, I will have multiple containers so that they can dump if it's loose food, or they can put it in a bag if it's bagged. It should work out good, but you know, we'll see. There'll be bugs. And then the good thing about these is they lock really well, and I'll just drive it in my car over to Hampton Country.
And just one last thing is, I also encourage all the village departments to perhaps consider doing food scrap collection at their offices, and perhaps coordinating with Anne for the drop-off at the farmer's market, or coordinating with another group so that their materials can be kept out of the waste stream and taken to the drop-off site to get taken to compost.
What about the schools?
That's another phase. That is, there is some discussion, but there are some things that need to be worked out. That is an excellent question.
Speaking of out of the waste stream, MJ, I think it's important to point out the savings to taxpayers in the village from diverting all of this food waste, which there's a large percent of our trash that's food waste. So if we divert that, then we have less of a tipping fee, just as we do when we separate recycles. The recyclables doesn't cost a tipping fee. Right now, I realize there are truly costs, but there aren't any costs to Irvington Village taxpayers for dropping off at Veterans Park. So part of selling the program is not only the environmental benefit, but the dollars and cents from diverting. And what percent is it that our trash is food waste?
12 to 18%.
Okay. So if we really could, in a perfect world, shave that off our trash bill here in Irvington, that's probably not too bad.
That would be very helpful. Any other questions? Any other comments, offerings?
Question, and I think this is great, I'm very supportive. I just have a question for Scarsdale about compliance in terms of not contaminating it. Michelle, right?
Yes. Hi.
So I think we still have a problem in this village with keeping plastic bags out of the recycling bins. You know, people just, some people just don't seem to get the message not to put their recyclables into plastic bags. I wonder if Scarsdale has had any issue with contamination from people just not getting the message that they have to use a particular kind of compostable bag.
So it's a really good question. So we don't have any issues with contamination. We check it a lot. And the reason why is the upfront sell. So this is not on the municipality, but it's on your volunteers. So what New York City did, the New York City model, just dropping off kits at apartment buildings with a little pamphlet inside, we never do that. So every single person that gets a kit gets a spiel. Gets a 2-minute, and Ann and Lisa, and you guys will all give them that spiel. And one of the...
That includes if we also sell it through the municipality, right. And that includes the person that sells it at the municipality. We just came and we gave her the little 2-minute spiel. Right. This is what goes in, this is why you can't put plastic bags in.
Right.
So if somebody buys it from the village of Scarsdale, they get that as well.
And about the bags specifically, there's 2 reasons why we don't have contamination. Number one, everybody All 20% of our households that are participating, every single one of them knows what the difference between compostable and biodegradable is. And it's really confusing, because a lot of people think if something's biodegradable, that can go in with the compost. And we explain to them, biodegradable could just be biodegradable plastic that goes into little bits. So and compostable means plant-based. So you gotta hit home that point that in that compost bin, whether it's the bag or whether it's a popsicle stick, that's from nature, right? Or a piece of food or a napkin, anything from nature can go in, but if it's not, it can't. And we really make sure that everybody knows that golden rule. And we just don't give out kits. We never hand out a kit. And we take that upfront time to do that, and on the back end, we just have clean compost.
We also make it easier to get refills.
Yeah.
So people don't have to go find them. So you write at our drop-off site, and it's going to be the same in Greenberg. You can buy more. So there's no point, nobody goes on Amazon looking for them because it's easier and it's much cheaper because we can buy it at wholesale to just get it there, and you'll do the same thing. So you just make it so easy for people, and it's just easy to comply.
You want them to use your bags, and that'll really help your lack of contamination. So by you guys selling these rolls of bags for $2 a roll, that same bag on Amazon is $6 a roll. So you really want to make it accessible that people can get those refill bags and use them, and they're going to want to use them because you're selling them at cost, which is great. And that's really going to help your compliance, those two pieces.
That's great. So Larry, we're going to want to make sure that you always have extra rolls.
Yeah, of course.
So
It's great.
we're shifting gears because I'm mindful of time. And I do want to formally introduce our special guest tonight. She is the Recycling Outreach Supervisor, Bureau of Waste Reduction and Recycling, Division of Materials Management. And Terry Leibniz now has something she would like to do.
Sorry, wait.
Thank you.
So I'm actually going to take my DEC hat on right now and put my New York State Association for Reduction, Reuse, and Recycling hat on, because we have an annual conference every year, and NISAR is the acronym, so I don't keep saying that over and over. But it's the State Recycling Association, and every year there's a conference in Cooperstown and a technical program that has, recycling outreach and education, composting, product stewardship, all the things we talk about top of the hierarchy. And at the end of our conference, we have a luncheon and we have an award ceremony, and we recognize trailblazers in the industry. And this year, Ann Jaffe Holmes was Private Citizen of the Year. Don't sit down. So since you didn't come to us, we came to you. We're going to recreate the little ceremony we had at the luncheon up in Cooperstown. And these are the remarks that I made to the audience. Although this audience knows you very well, and there's not a lot I need to say. But this is what your official speech was. So, I know you love this stuff. NISAR's 2017 Private Citizen Recycling Leadership Award is being presented to Ann Jaffe Holmes. While Ann serves as the Director of Education and Sustainability at the Greenberg Nature Center in Scarsdale, NISAR, however, is recognizing Ann for incorporating her professional knowledge and commitment to recycling and composting into her civic accomplishments as a private citizen in the village of Irvington, New York. On a professional level, Ann is involved in sustainable materials management, waste reduction, and public education. And I've had the good fortune of working with Ann on programming. We were just reminiscing about teaching the Hudson Valley that we did together a few years ago. It was great fun. As a private citizen, Ann's invested considerable time and energy as a member of the Green Policy Task Force and as a founding member of an initiative to retain fall leaves on properties to reduce hauling, minimize greenhouse gas production, and recharge local soils. Under Ann's leadership, Leaves, Love 'em and Leave 'em was expanded into other communities in Westchester County and beyond. Ann is a fully engaged, deeply caring individual who takes her global citizenship seriously and is tireless in her efforts to bring more and more people to a way of life where resources are managed in an environmentally responsible way. So on behalf of NYSAR, it was my privilege to announce that Ann Jaffe Homes was the 2017 Private Citizen Recycler. And you actually do have an award.
Yes. Here, right here.
I had no clue. I really had no clue. It's in the box.
Not only is it an award, it's a recycled reward.
Oh my God, look at that.
It's actually very cool.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And it's recycled glass.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That's beautiful.
Congratulations.
Come
on in.
Yeah.
So I can start my speech while we have a photo. But, on behalf of the Village of Irvington, we're also very grateful for all of Ann's, not only her achievements, but her contributions to the village on so many different, not just composting and not just recycling, but in so many different areas in the community. And for me personally, I think my favorite thing about Ann is her positive spirit and the way she's excited about everything she does, and her excitement's completely contagious. And I think that very often, food scrap recycling could be a boring topic. In different hands, it could be a boring topic, but your enthusiasm and your love of the environment shows through all the time. And I think that's why it was so great that you were at the Greenberg Nature Center for so long, affecting the next generation and so many people, because you really have a contagious personality that is so wonderful and it's so positive that whatever you talk about, I want to do. And so I just want to thank you for being who you are and for being, so great for our community. We're so happy to have you here. And even though we had to share you with Greenberg for so long, but we're so happy that you're here. We hope you stay forever.
Well, I am staying here. Because the award could go to any one of the people in this room who have been doing as much, way more than me for way longer even. But it really is a wonderful
And we
community
should
to be
also
a part
acknowledge
of.
that MJ's idea was to kind of sandbag you a little bit because he wouldn't come in and get you more. So,
I really
not that we didn't want to hear about food scrapping, but it was definitely a bit of a ruse.
Oh, man, it worked. It worked. I was a sucker.
Excellent. Well,
Thank you
congratulations.
Thank you all so much. And thank you, Terry, for coming all the way down. Oh, you were worth the trip.
So anything else on recycling, food scraps, organics? So we are, there is some reception upstairs in Village Hall that if you want to take a break for a few moments and come on up and imbibe in some hot cider and some baked goods by a local young woman at Dobbs Ferry who baked for us, then you are more than welcome to come.
And you'll have a food scraps.
Yes. Of course. It's already staged.
Perfect. Well, we have a couple more things. I think we could probably join the party in a few minutes.
Okay, yes.
As long as you don't run away too quickly. Keep that cider hot.
It is.
Excellent. We'll see how.
Stand on there too. Is this part of your bid?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Take out the rooms because it's frozen right
So this is kind of a very quick one. I was approached by a mother whose son walks kind of along the reservoir, somewhere along the road. I'm not sure exactly where that is. But he has to basically cut across the reservoir, or he has to walk on Cyrusville Road, and, so it's kind of safe. So we'd rather kind of walk in the woods and cut across and get to the high school and the school, I guess. So he was actually stopped by the police for trespassing by the reservoir, and we kind of looked into it, and there's kind of an old interpretation of when it was a watershed that you weren't allowed to trespass in the watershed. Larry's actually done some research, and we might have a very brief, but we might have a very quick fix. It seems to me like we've been trying to promote that area as a recreational use, more so than keeping it a pristine water supply. And I don't think necessarily people walking by it would destroy the pristine water supply too much anyway, depending on what they're doing. But it was just something I wanted to bring up because it was one of those things when we started talking about the police, we're like, well, there are no trespassing signs up there, and it's the law and it's been enforced, and I was like, okay, that's great, but should it be? No, that's our job to figure out.
So what's the option?
We could. Well, I think there's kind of a little bit of a gray area if it's still even applicable, because the way the law reads. Feel free to interrupt anytime. It's not if it's a water supply, then you have trespassing. But since it's not a water supply, it's not.
Do we still have an agreement with New York State at all in terms of our responsibility to maintain it as a water supply?
New York City, but I think if you look at it from a strict standpoint, there's a 1,000% chance that it could ever be a true water source again for this village. I mean, the steps that would have to happen for that to happen are, it's hard to even imagine that it could. I mean, you'd have to have a portable water filtration plant on a tractor trailer pulled into town to filter the water long enough so that, so you could somehow introduce it into your system. And even then, the quantity of water that's there is, we're estimating it to be about probably a month or two worth of usage, and that's if you even.
Right, and the ecological disaster that would require that to happen.
Yeah, we might not be worried about our water supply.
It would be like the road warriors.
Yeah.
Irvington would be like we'd have to protect ourselves from everybody else coming in to take our water supply.
The thing is, the law goes into all the various things that you can't do in the vicinity, in the watershed, the vicinity of the reservoir. It goes into all sorts of ecological things that you shouldn't be doing near that, including burying bodies and whatnot. But, I mean that for real.
Shoot, they found out.
200 feet away, you're fine.
But the provision that seems to govern the whole thing is that there's a blanket statement that says any water facilities, any facilities that are connected with a water supply, there's no trespassing is basically what it says. And so that's the provision of the code that would seem to apply here. The reality.
Where exactly on the reservoir was he walking?
I think it was right out. He kind of cut across almost through the woods, like that area, like the front of the reservoir around the back. My understanding of kind of where he was.
I mean, it's where we have marked trails.
Yeah, it's right by the trail.
It says Hermit's Trail.
Yeah.
Right.
He actually was on the pre-trail part of the trail, so my understanding of where it was.
What?
I think there was kind of it's almost like that, you have a license plate cover. Everybody has a license plate cover, but when they want to stop you for a reason, you have the license plate cover. So I think that the trespassing thing was a little bit along those lines, like we can now stop you because you're trespassing, we have a right to stop you and want to make sure you're not dealing drugs or whatever, so.
That doesn't make sense though, if it's an access point to the trailhead.
I think it's kind of a subtle thing where if you park over here, you can kind of get around the no trespassing because you're not actually in the watershed. But if you walk across it, it's almost, and that was the mother's point was to get to the trails. If you don't live in Field Point or actually drive to the trails, it's almost impossible to get there without trespassing, which again didn't really make any sense.
So if we declare that we have no intention of maintaining that as a water supply in any way.
I don't think that, no, but see, I don't think you have to go that far, and I'm not sure that we can necessarily with our water supply agreement with and that's the part I did research for tonight. I don't know that we can actually do that, or we even have to do that. Frankly, if you really look at what we're talking about here, there's a question. The first question is this even part of the water supply? And if you say yes, it is, okay, that's fine. It's obviously a very indirect part of the water supply, very distant part of the water supply. But even then, what we're allowing here, we're not allowing a nuclear power plant to be built on the shores of the reservoir. We're allowing someone to walk
Right, but I'm just thinking on a larger scale of opening it up for more recreational use
That's not
and
true.
or.
But that's,
Okay.
yeah, we didn't do the research for that for tonight. Because there are sections of the code that specifically say no swimming, no bathing, no bathing, whatever, boating, right? Which is not necessarily the part that we're debating, but, so I'm just suggesting that you don't have to make a determination, or you don't have to say, this is no longer part of any water supply system. I don't think you even have to do that. Because what you're actually allowing is 100% reversible. You know what I mean? If the apocalypse happens and we now have to use that as a water supply, okay, so now people can't approach the reservoir any longer, you know what I mean? Again, you're not allowing something permanent here, that's really all the mayor asked about, was trespassing, you know?
So, but you're asking us that, do we advise that we allow trespassing under the circumstances now? And that then you would communicate that to the police? Is that all you're really asking us?
Take down the signs and tell the police.
Yeah, okay.
So we're basically not, without conceding that it's not part of the watershed at this
Yeah.
point, we're simply saying, due to the very de minimis likelihood of it being ever need to be used, we are simply not enforcing the no trespassing that goes along with watershed.
Yes, adjacent to the reservoir.
Adjacent.
Not all water
Right,
facilities.
in this
Right.
particular area, we're simply electing not to enforce, so we're not giving it up the possibility of reinstating it, we're not declaring it not a watershed, we're just saying.
Nor are you allowing anything permanent.
Right.
Right.
Not building
To
it.
happen.
We just say at this point at this time, we are not enforcing that.
Yeah,
And take
I
the
think
signs
that's
down.
Right.
If that's the.
I don't really see any downside to that decision at all.
Yeah, because it doesn't give anything away.
Yeah, I think that's the way
How
we
far
look at it.
from the water does the,
The kid was not swimming to school, right?
I don't think it's
mean,
really-
he was just walking.
Throwing food scraps.
Yeah.
He's throwing food scraps.
It's a little bit, there's conflicting provisions, I guess you could say. This is not coming up quickly, but I think in one section, it does talk about certain activities being prohibited within 100 feet of the reservoir. But it's not, it doesn't say walking, you know what I mean?
Determined the bodies was 200.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Oh, that's perfect.
Don't hear that
That's
term,
great.
but yeah, he's more than 200.
It's pretty far. It takes a long time to get there.
This is the same reservoir where there was a movie shoot, right?
Yes, they're burying a body.
That's right.
But they paid to do that.
So, okay, so it's,
No problem taking the signs
I
down.
personally am okay with not enforcing the no trespassing.
do we have to pass straw out, or do you just, as
we're just gonna do it.
administrator, inform the police that that's the sense of the board? or
What
something?
did the kid do?
We'll just make it happen.
It was just the wrong place, wrong time, I think. But I'll make a motion to adjourn. It's vice council.
Yes, Vice Council.
I will make a motion to adjourn. Have a second.
Second.
All in favor?